Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is one of the most exciting Divi feature update lives I'm going to do today because my favorite feature by far has been released, and this is the global default editor. Now, for those of you who are seeing a wrong title here on the live stream, please ignore that. I've just updated it, but I think for some reason it's skipping what BJ did on Friday. But this is the Divi feature update live. As I mentioned, today we're talking about the global default editor. This is a game changer. This is fantastic, and I can't wait to show you how this feature is going to change the way you design websites. All right, so if you can hear me loud and clear, please let me know in the comments box below before we begin, because I really want to make sure that we get started on a very good note. Can you hear me loud and clear? If you can hear me, please let me know in the comments box below. Okay, so I can see here Robert saying everything is fine. That's fantastic. All right, so the global default editor enables you to manage your entire websites just by clicking a few buttons. Now, this is going to increase our workflow speed, and this is going to be amazing. So first of all, before we go into this, I'd like to say welcome to everyone that's just joined us. I can see here Monique, good to see you. David, we also have Robert, Jack, awesome, great to see you. We also have Two Fodis Solutions saying bonjour, I think is from France. Good to see you. We also have Jorgen, I hope I pronounced that well, from Germany. Good to see you too. Awesome. Right. Okay. So let's dive into these features and let's get. Zamir also says hi, Mac. Good to see you, Zamir. Right. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to be flipping between my main desktop and my main screen so that you can see what changes I am doing. Zamir is from Israel. Awesome. I think this is the first time we've actually got someone from Israel. That's good to see. All right, so what we're going to do now is let's head over here to my website and let me show you how this is going to work. Now, you know how it is when you design websites. In fact, before this update, if you wanted to customize your text, in fact, let me show you the customizer so you can see what I mean. So every time we wanted to, say, make some changes to our global settings, what we had to do was to first come over here to our settings, and then we go to our theme. So I'm going to come over here to theme, and then we click on customize. So this is where we had to go to do our customizations. And here is where you would go to your, let's say, for example, general settings, typography. So this is where you would set your fonts, and over here this is where you can change your header style, all caps and so on, body color, body text. So this was the old way of doing things, but thankfully now we can actually do this within the actual builder, and the changes that we make are global. I mean, you make a change, and let's say you want to change the entire heading of your website, this will be applied throughout the whole website. So let me show you how that works. So what I've done here is, ahead of time, I've just added some default stuff. So this is a paragraph, this is a button. So this is as it comes out in Divi, okay? This is a blurb, as you can see. This is again, a heading and a paragraph. And these are images and a paragraph. Okay, same thing applies here. So the first thing I want to do here is to apply a specific font to my my body text. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So this is how you do it. So it doesn't matter where you go. You can either choose it from here. You can choose it from here. As long as it's the body text, it doesn't really matter. So let me show you how this is truly global. So what you do is you click here on your settings to enter that module. And then now we have this new entry. Can you see this globe item here, this globe? That's what you need to click. And then this will flip around, and this is now going to give us our default settings. Now, since I need to change the font, I can come over here to design now, and then I'm going to go into text. So first of all, this is the default font, as you can see. Next, I want to come over here and change this to Montserrat. Now you can see this has been changed. Notice what has happened immediately. This is updated over here. It is also updated over here. So that's the paragraph text, okay? Now let's make a few changes so you can see it happening in real time. Okay, so back over here, this is where I'm working at. If I make it all caps, notice that everything becomes all caps. Okay, so this instance is only happening on the paragraph text. So don't confuse this with the with these blurbs, because we are going to come here and also make some changes to our blurbs globally. Okay, so I just want to come over here and just make this look normal. So I'm going to remove the all caps. So this is now my brand new size for my font. So over here on the text size, we can also increase this if we need to. Let's say, let's increase this to about 15, and let's also add some line height. So I'm going to come over here, add a bit of line height. I think 1.8 is good. So I'm going to leave that as 1.8 and then save. Now, what I hadn't showed you was, to prove that this is truly global, I have a tab open here. You can see this is also part of my website, but this has the old font that was there. Now, if I refresh this, this should have the new Montserrat font that I've just added to my global settings. Now, let's see if that works. Fingers crossed. I'm going to refresh that. Boom, it's changed. So this is truly happening on the entire website. Any questions so far? Because I really want to make sure that we're on the same page on this one. Okay, so if you have any questions, please add them in the comments box below. Robert says, boom. I like that. Right, you can see I'm really, really excited about this brand new feature. It's really, really awesome. Excellent, excellent. So anyway, no questions so far. So I'm going to assume that pretty much we're on the same page. Now, what happens? Okay, David Reed says you should have changed it to a serif font to make it more obvious. No problem. Let me change it right now. Okay? So I'm going to change it to a serif font. So let's go back to my computer here. So let's go back to our global defaults. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say you're working with a client, and the client says, I want a serif font. This is how you do it. So you come back over here to your design, click on text. So let's change this font now. Let's go with Gilded Display. Okay, and I'm going to increase the size a little bit here so we can read it easier. There we go. So now I think it's easier to read. Change the color to black. Oh, in fact, no. Let me undo that. I won't change it to black. Let's save this. Okay, and again, this is global. Now I'm going to come over here to the new tab, refresh the page, and let's see what happens. There we go. Boom. Everything has changed. So it is working okay. As you can see, that's fantastic. Now, I can see a question here about the headers. What is with H1 and H2? Okay, let's do that. Let's target headings now. So I'm going to save this. Okay, and then over here, let's add a heading. So I am going to add a new module. Let's call this text. Okay. So let's say my heading. Okay. So that's going to be my heading size. I'm just going to save this and then just drag this to the top so we can see it. Okay. So now I'm going to go back here and highlight this text. Make sure it's set to, let's say, heading 3. Okay. So that's my heading 3. Now, why don't we add another heading 3 here on this page. In fact, let's find where we can add another heading 3. Let's say we add, okay, in fact, this is right. Let's customize our heading 3. So that's my heading 3. As you can see here, I've highlighted it and I've set it to heading 3. Now let's head over to our text, our design tab, heading text, heading 3 tab. Now I'm going to change this to Montserrat. I know design-wise, this is not supposed to be the way we do it, but you know what? Let's just see what happens here. So I've made this all caps, Montserrat, it's light. In fact, let's make it bold. Okay, because it's a heading, so now it's bold. And remember, this is heading 3. Right, we might as well change the color here because I can see we're just pretty much using, black and white. So I really want to make some changes here. So now I've added red to that. So this is the old way that we did things. So if I save this and let's say I want to duplicate this, it's pretty much duplicating my heading 3 here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a default global setting for my heading 3. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click this plus button, add a new text module. Okay, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to highlight it and set it to heading 3. Now, to make it truly global, as you can see here, this has taken the font that we used before. I'm going to click on this global icon. It's going to flip around, click here on design, heading text, heading 3. Right, so here is where I need to make my changes. So I'm going to change the color so that we can see clearly where we've made the change. So first of all, I'm going to change this from my default font. Let's try something different. Let's use Oswald, okay? Because there's a big distinction there. And the size, I think size is fine for heading 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay, so now this is my global setting for my heading 3. In fact, have I done it right? I think so. Let me go back in. Heading text. Okay, so this is my heading 3. Now, every time I create a new heading and set it to heading 3, in fact, let's get rid of this one here. Let's add a new heading. So I'm going to go into the text here, highlight some of this, set it to heading 3. And you can see here, the moment I set it to heading 3, this is now changed to take on what I set over here as the global setting. Okay. So in fact, that's not a realistic way of doing it. Let me just undo that, put it back on paragraph, save. And I'm just going to drag this to the top here so that it's in the right position. Okay, so now that we have a heading 3 as our global setting, let's say I continue designing my website and I need to add another heading 3 somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. Let's say I need to add another heading. And then I'm going to search for my text module. I'm going to select it. And then let's say this is my heading 3. I'm going to highlight it, set it to heading 3, and boom, just like that. All your heading 3s are going to take that setting now. So every time you add a heading 3, it's going to change to that. So let's say a client comes to you and says, you know what? I don't like that font on the heading 3. I need a different font altogether. So what you do is you go to any instance. You can either come to this one here, or you can come to this one right here. Click on this gear icon, click on the global icon. And now we can go to our heading text, heading 3, and let's change it from Oswald to Montserrat. Okay, now we've changed it. Next, we're going to make it all caps. Right, so I'm pretty much happy with heading 3 now. I'm going to save it and then save one more time. And now if I come over here, this heading 3 should have changed. And boom, it has changed. So are we on the same page now on the headings and how we make these changes? Because I'm also going to do a few more examples so that you can really see the power of the new global settings editor. So for those of you that are just joining us, this is the Divi feature update live. Today we're talking about the global defaults editor. This is a new way of making global settings on your Divi website. All right, let's have a look here at the comments. Yes, this also applies to mobile. This is global. I mean, it's not just on a specific screen size. This also happens to mobile. So let's do that. So I'm just going to switch over here so I can show you. So let's say I come over here into this setting, click on design, heading text, heading 3, and I'm just going to choose a different view here. I'm going to go on the tablet. There we go. On the tablet, you can see the font is still there. It's Montserrat. On the phone, there it is. But of course, you have to go in and customize the sizes to make sure that it is the best size that suits your design. So as you can see, this is truly global. It's really, really awesome. So I'm going to take a look here at the comments. Guys, if you have any comments, please add your comments in the comments box below. Right, Uncle Social, good to see you. He says, I think everyone knows which update we want to see next. Absolutely. Header and footer. I said it. Okay. Right. Yes, absolutely. So, but I think you can agree with me that this feature here is a truly a game changer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue and make some more customizations. And in fact, to be honest with you guys, with this update, I've spent so much time during the weekend playing around with it. It's addictive. That's all I can say. It's truly addictive. So it's really, really fun to use. Okay, I'm going to switch over now to my desktop, and then let's make some more customizations. So I'm just going to save this. Now let's create a button, and let's see how we can make our buttons truly global. So again, your workflow should work like this. So let's say you want to create a specific button, and you have a specific color theme that you want to follow. So instead of just going back in, choosing a color, adding it every time you create a button, or copying and pasting the button, as you're designing, that doesn't work. And this is the best way to do it. So let me show you how you would do this. So let's come over here into module settings. We're going to truly customize this button here. And ideally, what you would do is, let's say you had a specific color for your branding. So I'm just going to assume that we've chosen a color here. And the color that we're going to use for our button is going to be, let's have a look. Okay, let's go with this color here for our button. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the hexadecimal value here. Right, so now let's work on our button here. So what you need to do is, don't forget, again, this is going to be frustrating if you forget to do this, okay? If you want to make global changes, you have to make sure you click this icon here, because if you go ahead and design all this here, it won't make it global, okay? So you need to come over here, click on Edit Global Items, Design, Button, use Custom Styles for Button, and now we can add a background color here, paste it, like that. Button text color, I'm going to add my button text color here. Border width, I'm going to customize it, remove that border width. Now let's come over here and change our font. So for our font here, I'm going to change this to Montserrat. We're going to make it all caps. And let's make this bold as well. Okay, so that's looking nice. In fact, you know what? Bold is too much. Let's make it medium or semi-bold. Okay, so that's better. Now I am going to make this button slightly bigger by adding some spacing to it. So I'm going to start here with the padding. So top and bottom, I'm just going to increase that to about, let's say 20, and then left and right to about 50. Okay, so I'm pretty much happy with the size now. I've made it nice and big so we can see all the changes. So since this is global defaults, I'm going to save this and save this one more time and then save that. Okay. Now, next time you create a button, guess what? All your settings now that we've just added here are going to be applied to your brand new button. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to come over here and let's say we want to add a call to action over here. I'm going to click this plus button and I am going to add my button here as a module. Boom. You can see now my button has taken all the styles that we created globally. Okay. So every time you add a button, it's going to have this color. Now, does that mean that you can't change this color as you're designing this website? Absolutely not. So let me show you how. So if I come over here to module settings, what you can actually do here is if you go in and make some changes to this button. So let's come over here and click on button. Let's say we want to change the color of this button. So what you would do is, in fact, that's because it's global. So let me come back over here. So we can actually come and reset the settings. So let me go back into my global settings. So if I click on these three little dots here, I can actually reset the module styles to defaults. So if I click this button here, all the changes that we've done to this button will be reset to the default settings that we did. However, if you want to make changes to this actual button here, you can also do that by coming over here to design button. You can see here, I'm changing the size like that. So maybe I want this at 16. And then save. Okay, so I've just overridden what I have here. So you can see this text here is the same size globally, but I've actually gone in and made a slight adjustment here, and I've made this text smaller. So you can actually go into your global or to your specific button or a specific item and change it right there and then. Okay, now let's make a few more changes here. Now let's say I go ahead and start designing, because this is another way you can actually work on this. So let's say I go into this. So let's say you've worked so hard on a specific setting and you want to apply it as a global setting. So let's simulate that. So if I come over here and let's say I need to work on this icon, I come to image and icon, design, and maybe I add a color to my icon here like that. And then over here on use icon font size, I change the size, make it smaller, maybe to about, let's say 64, maybe 62. And then over here on the text, let's align our text. So I'm going to come over here, align it center, and then I'm going to go to my title text. And over here, we're going to change this from default to Montserrat, all caps. We're going to make it semi-bold. So you can see here, I'm actually designing this, this item, but I really want to make a massive change so you can see everything after I've started adding it. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to the text as well. So I'm going to come here, find my body text, change it to Montserrat. Okay, so that's looking great. Now I'm going to come back over here to my content. Let's say I want to add a background to that. And let's say the background is, let's choose this color here. Copy that. Add that as my background color. Okay, now let's further customize this. So I'm going to come over here to my design. So for my icon to stand out, I'm going to make it white. And then for my text, I'm just going to make it light. Okay, so now we can read everything. That's looking nice and good. Let's go to sizing. So this is normally what you would do when you're designing your site. I'm going to come over here to sizing. No, in fact, spacing. I'm going to add some padding. top, bottom, left and right. Okay, so now our blurb has some breathing space, so it's looking great. Now, so with all this done now, this is how we were doing it before. If I need to come over here, I'll duplicate this a few times and then add it over here. So let's say with this design here, you want to make it as a global item. So you want all your blurbs to be this design. So what you could also do here is, because you can click these three little dots here, like that, and then make styles default. So if I do that and I click yes, boom, just like that. I've made all my styles default, okay? Now let's say I need to add another blurb in our design. I can come over here, single column, search for my blurb. Now notice what happens when I add it. Boom, it's gonna add my style here. And it's similar to what we have here on the top. So this is how it works. So sometimes, let's say you want to, let me just delete this first. So sometimes, let's say you're working on a particular item and you forget to add, to click on the default icon. This is where you can just come in and, make that style default, okay? So again, let's say this text here, we work on this, we come over here, click on this gear icon. We're working on this text. We come over here to design text. We change this to, let's say, Monsterrat, just to make it all the same. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the font that I've just added. I can save that. And then I can click these three little dots, make styles default, like that. It says, are you sure? I say yes. And now when I go through my site, it is updated globally. Okay. And again, if I come over here, and this is a page on my site, if I refresh this, notice what happens. Boom, everything has changed, my heading has changed, and my body text has changed as well. Okay, so any more questions? Any questions? What do you guys think about... Robert says, nice noise to prove it's live. It's always live. We don't cheat. This is real. This is real. Okay. Robert says, this feature will ease a bunch of work. Absolutely. 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 I agree with you 100%. As I mentioned, as I was playing with this feature over the weekend, to be honest, it's addictive because you can just go in a matter of minutes, you can just change your entire website. I used to do some website reviews, and what I found quite a lot of people do was they would have different font sizes for their body text throughout their whole website. And the reason being is most people didn't even know that you had to go to the theme options to make those changes there. Now, you can just go into a paragraph anywhere on your website after you've made the changes or the sizes to your font, and then just click those three little dots and then just apply it globally. And then boom, just like that, the whole website is now consistent with line height, text color, and all that good stuff. And let's say your text is on a background, which is dark, and your text is dark. You can actually go into that particular item and override those settings. So once you do that, your website is going to be consistent throughout. For those of you that are just joining us, this is the Divi Feature Update Live. Today, we're talking about the Global Defaults Editor. And as I mentioned right in the beginning, this is by far my best feature that Divi has released. So I'm really excited about this. So guys, I really want to make sure you get most out of this. If you have any questions, please add your questions in the comments box below, and let's work on it. Stefan says, nice live video. Thinking about buying Divi for my next project. Greetings from Germany. Awesome. Yes, I would say you really need to buy Divi. There's new features coming out. It's going to be crazy. Okay. So I would recommend that you buy Divi. And by the way, there is no theme out there that incorporates what I've just shown you today. I mean, this is truly amazing. So Zamir says, is after you've selected it by default, it changes the settings in the module theme customizer. I'm trying to think about the question here. Is after you've selected it by default. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm just trying to visualize, the question there. There's two ways you can use the globals editor. First of all, you can create a brand new module. And once you go in, you make changes to it, right? And then you can click those three little dots and set it as a global item. The second way you can do it is open up a module, okay? Once you've opened it up, click the global icon, make your changes there, and every time you add a new one, it will be applied across the whole website. Let's have a look here. Uncle Social says, instead of a layout pack, how about ET makes a page with all modules, elements, headings, so we can easily set our global defaults with. Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. But in my opinion, you still need the layout packs because some designers may need to see things visually to actually make their actual design. So I think having both will be a fantastic idea, and I agree with you. Just having a layout which has all the modules where you can just go in and just make all those changes, and once you do that on that page, it applies through the whole website. Yes, I agree 100%. But the pre-made layouts, I think they should still be there because it helps people choose different layouts. Because if we have, let's say, a page which has these global items. Remember, the global items also apply to colors. It also applies to sizes on your sections, on your rows, and so on. In fact, in a minute, I'm going to show you how you can also apply these global settings onto sections. Okay, what about the transformation module? Is it also possible to set these global settings? Yes, these global settings can be applied pretty much everywhere throughout the whole builder. So yes, animations, transformations, all that good stuff. Yes, hover settings. So if you, let's say, for example, create let's say a blurb and you apply a hover option on it, you can set it as a global item. So every single blurb that you add, it's going to have those settings. Okay, so now let me show you how you can also add these global settings onto rows and sections. Okay, so one thing that I normally do when I design is notice that over here we have this space, right? This space here. Sometimes I want it nice and big, even over here on the bottom. The padding is sometimes not the right size. Again, you can see it here. Now, what we can actually do here is we can also make the spacing between the sections a global setting. Let me show you how. So I can choose any section here. So I'm going to go into this bottom one. In fact, let me go to the top here so you can actually see the difference. So I'm going to go here to the top one. And again, you see this global item. I'm going to click on it. Click on design. Now I'm going to come over here to spacing and add my padding. So on the top, I'm going to add 120. And on the bottom, I'm going to add 60. Okay. Let's see if that has happened. Yes, you can see here 120 has been applied and 60 in the bottom has been applied. In fact, while I'm here on this global section defaults on the global settings, let me put an outrageous number here. If I add, say, 500, you can see here that 500 has been added and it's been added throughout. See, this area here, it's been added. On the top here, it's been added, and way over here. Now, let me bring it back to something decent. So let's say 120, okay? Now, what's going to happen is throughout my whole website, every time I add a section, it's going to be 120 at the top, 60 pixels at the bottom. Let me save that. Apply to global. Boom. Done. Now, let's add a brand new section. So I'm going to save this first. Click this plus button. Regular section. Let's add 2 images in here. In fact, no. let's not add images. Let's add a background color so we can see that this has actually worked. So I'm going to add a dark gray like that. And if I mouse over here, you can see it says 120 pixels. Not sure if you can see this on the live stream. And on the bottom here, it has 60. Let me add another one. In fact, let's just add 2 images here just to make this look much better. I'm going to add an image here. So let's add this. Okay, so that's my first image. Let me add a second one. Let's add this one here. Okay, so I've added my 2 images there. So now you can see all my sections that I'm going to add from now onwards are going to have this 120 at the top and 60 at the bottom. Let me just show you one more time just to prove to you that this is working. I'm going to click here on add a new section, regular. And this time I'm just going to have a single. And let's add a video module in here. Let's change the size. Okay. So now if I mouse over here, again, you can see we have 120. We now have 60 at the bottom. So every time now you add your sections, this is the size the padding that's going to be added on the top and the bottom. And again, this is fantastic. This applies pretty much throughout the whole website. And this is actually great. So these theme options here were very, very limited. Now we can do way more than just adding your text, colors, and body line height and so on. And anyway, while you're designing this was not very good, to be honest, because it's very difficult to visualize how things are looking here because it gives you a page which doesn't even have all the elements that you need. But in this case now, we actually have everything that we need in order for us to see how we're designing our website, which is fantastic. All right, I think I've covered pretty much everything that we oh, hang on. One more thing. Let's say what we've done here is we want to reset it because this 120 here on the top is not ideal. So if you want to reset it, you can come over here to section settings, click on this global item, click on these 3 little dots, and then over here, a reset section style default. Boom, everything has gone back to normal. I'm going to save that, save it one more time, and then I'm just going to save and close this. Now, if I go through my whole website, notice that my default spacing here has been changed. And this also applies to all your modules, all your sections that you create. So again, I could even come over here and reset this if I wanted to, or overwrite the design. Okay, so this is how you would go in and work on these, or how you use the global defaults editor. Right. Mind Between Sound says any updates for menu styling, like gradient backgrounds, multiple logos for light and black backgrounds. Mind Between Sounds, you can create your own. So let's say, for example, you want a specific background for your site, which has gradients. You can set that design or that design as your default. So that means every time you create it, it's going to be applied throughout your whole website. Okay. Is after you've selected the default, it changes the settings in the module theme customizer. To be honest, you don't even need to worry about the module theme customizer. Once you change this in the builder is what you see. I haven't really gone back to see. In fact, why don't we go in and see? So I'm going to refresh this and let's see what font is here and the sizes. So I'm going to come to global settings, typography. No, so this still has the default font. So I guess this global defaults editor overrides everything. So pretty much everything is overwritten. Okay. Please release the fantastic menu layout design. Oh yeah, that's coming soon. That's coming soon. I think Nick made was it a video or a post talking about when it's going to come? So just keep an eye out on that. I'm also looking forward to that, to be honest. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Okay, right. So I think I've covered pretty much everything here. I hope you guys like this update, this global defaults editor. Go ahead, work on it, just go crazy creative with it. I was playing with this update over the weekend, and to be honest, like I said, it's addictive. It's very, very fun. This is just going to change the way we design our websites. So go ahead, give it a try. In order for you to get all these, to get this global defaults feature, you need to make sure you update to the latest Divi update. So make sure you update Divi to the latest update, and you will see these settings. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in today for my Divi feature update live. Really appreciate it. And I hope you'll be excited about this new Divi defaults editor. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you very soon. Take care.